The First Universalist Church of Norway was organized in 1799. This current church building was erected in 1828-1829 to replace a smaller church building on the same site. In 1866, the building was raised 8 feet and a first floor, now known as the concert hall, was built underneath. A high level of craftsmanship, as well as the height of building technology of the time, was used in the original 1828 construction. This high level of craft has protected the roof system from the sagging, slippage, and rot that plagues many churches of the era. The church tower and belfry were also well crafted, but subsequent remodels and almost 200 years of wind and weather have compromised the tower and belfry frame. This is the heart of the Save the Belfry fundraising campaign. Other areas of repair, such as a few floor joists at the back of the building, painting, and drainage and landscaping, have also been identified. These will be addressed, but saving the belfry, an iconic feature of Norway's skyline, is the highest priority. In the simplest terms, saving the belfry involves removing it to the ground, repairing both the belfry and the church tower, and then placing the belfry back on the tower. Save the Belfry is working with Preservation Timber Framing of Berwick, Maine, a highly regarded company specializing in the structural repair of historic buildings. This video shows highlights of our progress between 2019 and early 2022. These drawings, prepared by Preservation Timber Framing, illustrate the work to be done. Orange indicates structure to be replaced, while yellow indicates what needs to be repaired. May 16th, 2019 was Crane Day, when the belfry and bell were removed from the tower and placed on the ground so the belfry could be rebuilt. It was an amazing undertaking. After they were removed, a temporary roof was put over the tower. Setup and the actual removal took the entire day, but we have condensed it into this 6-minute clip. After the belfry came down, Norway's skyline just wasn't the same. After the belfry was removed, the pandemic delayed our progress. But in 2021, Ed Summers of Ed Summers Woodworking began taking measurements of the original 1828 beams and rafters and then started dismantling the belfry. Using the measurements of the original structural pieces, Ed created templates to use to cut new beams and rafters. As the belfry was dismantled, some timbers were found to be in worse condition than the original assessment. One beam had rotted completely through. We were surprised to find beams with initials carved in them, presumably put there by workers in 1828. These beams have been saved. At the end of 2021, most of the dome supports were removed. The bracing was removed, they gave it a tug, and now the dome could be dismantled. These drawings by Preservation Timber Framing illustrate how the dome is being rebuilt as a historically correct reproduction of the original dome using the same construction techniques. We are fortunate to have such a skilled carpenter as Ed Summers doing this very precise and particular work. During the winter of 2022, Ed and Chris Bannon began cutting and fitting the new timbers to reconstruct the dome roof. Everything is notched and fit together to ensure a correct fit, but not fastened together just yet. The curved rafters you see are 7 feet long.
Hi, I'm Joan Beal, and I am chair of the Save the Belfry Committee at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Norway, Maine. And we are in the midst of a project to restore our 200-year-old belfry on our historic building on Main Street in Norway, Maine. Right now, we're in South Bridgeton in this building, which was once a barn, then a chapel, and now kind of a temporary timber framing workshop, where we're continuing work on the dome. The building was loaned to us generously for the winter so we could keep doing this work by Amy and Parker Norman. We're lucky in our state that we have a company, Preservation Timber Framing, that's helped us plan and get this project going, and we're especially lucky that we have actually in our congregation Ed Summers, who is a carpenter and timber framer and who has worked on lots of historic buildings in Maine. So I am going to actually turn this over to Ed so that he can tell you what he's doing today.
I'm Ed Summers. I'm Ed Summers Woodworking. I restore old houses and barns. I'm also a member of the church. And actually the building we're in is a building I worked on about 8 years ago. I did a lot of extensive work for the family here in South Bridgeton, and they've given us permission to use their building for doing the work for the church. So the dome for the church was, well, the whole belfry was rotting and having problems, so Preservation Timber Frame, a large company in southern Maine, is in the overall charge of it, but I'm the local contractor they're working with. And so they've drawn up sets of plans, and so I'm building this structure to their plan. And first thing I did was I laid out a plywood base, and I drew a full-size drawing of this so that I could then literally lay the timbers on top of it and mark where each one had to be cut. And as I laid out and cut these pieces, we assembled. This is not a permanent assembly, it's temporary because it'll be moved. But this is assembled here, and now I'm working on cutting and fitting the rafters that will hold the roofing.
How many rafters are there?
There are 8 main rafters, and then there will be 8 more intermediate rafters that'll support and stiffen the boards that'll go across it. And right now I'm cutting a bevel on the rafters because At the top, it's flat, but at the bottom, as you go down, the angle becomes greater and greater, and the boards wouldn't sit on the rafters properly. So I'm cutting an angle, a bevel on the edge of them, so that the roofing boards fit on it better.
Let's see how you make the bevel.
The bevel on this rafter, and it's a rolling bevel. And a rolling bevel means that the angle of the bevel changes over the length of the cut. And I am estimating this, having done a few of them. And so starting out here at about 1/2 inch, 5/8, and I'm going to lay out my pencil line, and I'm just going to pull my finger a little tighter as I go up so that it gets a little smaller and then becomes nothing up here. And I have a center line down the center of this rafter, and so I'm going to connect this line to here by planing it. And
you'll do that with a machine.
I will do this with a power planer, but it could be done by hand plane. Okay, you'll have to change the angle if you can see the light reflecting, so that you can see where the bevel's cut.
Yep.
Can you see that?
I can.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so that's approximately what I do over the length of the rafter on both sides. And I'm going to show you cutting. You can see these rafters are curved, and we've laid out, and there's a rafter that'll go in between, the intermediate rafter, and I'll be cutting one of those for you. Okay, so I've laid out the curve of the rafter on the board here, and instead of using a jigsaw, I'm going to use a circular saw, because one of the things I learned in boat building is the bigger the blade you can use cutting the curve, the smoother the curve is. And so you can keep it a fairer curve. So I'm going to start over here, and it's going to be 2 or 3 passes to cut through it. Go a little deeper. I need to pull that. Okay, so I can hold this end, but I'm going to need some help holding that end as I get through it. So,
Okay.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
So one down, 7 more to go. Huh?
Yep. Yeah, but first we gotta take it in and cut it and get it fit it and make sure it really is good. And then we can use it as a pattern for the others. I guess that covers that. Okay, so
You going on this one?
that one's long. All right, this is 87 5/8. So why don't we do it in the one right next to Joan, because that's 87 1/2. That means it should be slightly proud. Except that these other rafters are sticking out a little.
This one is 87 5/8.
Right, but these rafters stick out past our frame. So, okay, we're going to go right in this middle here. Yeah,
Okay, do what you do.
okay, we'll just come down here and we can see how it fits. Okay, so let's go down and find out where it's even. Okay, it's good right there. Okay, so now we can go up and we can say 1/4 inch. It doesn't go, so
Proud there.
it's up to that point. And about 1/4 inch there. Okay, so it goes from nothing to 1/4 and then back up to nothing. And here,
These photos show how the rafters are joined with the center mast and the base. When the belfry is on the church building, it's difficult to gauge its size, but when it's at eye level, it is an impressive structure. Our plans for the spring and summer of 2022 are to return the dome pieces to Norway and finish the final roof structure. The legs on which the dome stands will be built and the architectural details will be installed. At that point, the belfry construction will be done, except sheathing the roof in copper, which will protect the roof for decades. The next phase of this project will be making repairs within the belfry tower, for which we are currently fundraising.